So, Evie, as you know them, are these leadership and culture issues? And I mean, culture is not an easy thing to change, right? It takes time. But I wonder what you make of that back and forth.
Well, culture starts at the top. I think everybody knows this. It always starts with the leadership, and it goes down from there. And I do think that there are some valid points to push back at Acting Director Rowe. He was the #2 in charge at this time. He was the second most senior person when the assassination attempt happened. So he does bear responsibility with that. I do think that although it got heated, it is a fair question to ask, why were you there during this ceremony? And especially if whistleblowers are saying something and perhaps it was other agents or other individuals saying, what was his purpose? So I do absolutely think it has to do with leadership. A couple of the other things too that lead me to the conclusion of this is cultural, this is morale, this is leadership, there are so many systemic failures here. Even listening to him, he's changed so many things. He's creating an aviation unit, right? So that they can have proper training to use the drone, which the person who had the drone didn't have proper training. He's creating a research operations at the U.S. Secret Service, which they used to have and they no longer have. And this is to create and get new technology and advancements. He's also creating an auditing program, which means after an assignment, after protection assignment, people going in, see what's right, what's doing wrong, hiring. 60%, and this was astonishing to me as well, 60% of the special agents have 10 years or less on the job. So a lack of seniority there, a lack of knowledge, even using tech like Blue Force support. This is so that during an advance where everybody is, especially when you work with a lot of different agencies, you want to know where all the friendlies are. And there's so many changes that he's making. So when you hear that you're making all these changes, the whole system from inside, that's the problem.
Well, they spoke about a lot of the changes that Rowe is making to impact, obviously, not just hiring and the operation of the agency, but also the culture, right? But let me play for you what he had to say looking forward, because there were already conversations about what about the next presidential election. Here's what he said about 28.
When I look at what we have ahead of us in 28, another presidential campaign, an incumbent who's not going to be out there, who's not seeking office, but is probably going to be out there campaigning. It's going to be a tough year in 28.
I just wonder if there's ever not going to be a tough year. I mean, and we saw this year, for example, there were multiple things going on at one time, not the least of which here in New York City was UNGA, UN General Assembly. There were so many different things that were challenging the agency. Is there a larger reassessment of manpower, of resources that still needs to happen?
Yes, I mean, their manpower issues are significant. He even talked about doing less with more, and that's been a cultural thing. And I can tell you that it was always seen as almost a positive thing. The more you can do with less, you're doing a great job, you're a great agent. But he also talked about how over time it had a deteriorating effect on the agency. All these things start with the top down. And I do agree with you, 2028, okay, what is the difference there? You won't have an incumbent president, which for the most part of the year, although President Biden pulled out, the majority of the year he was the incumbent. So he wasn't out there traveling. So what he's saying really is you're going to have two individuals vying for the presidency who are going to be really pushing hard out on the campaign trail, a lot of events, a lot of hours, a lot of manpower.